everyone, welcome back. It's time, ABCFC podcast. We're here again. It's time for another wrap up, or whatever you want to call it, of the action of the World Cup of the last round, or the round of 32. You're slightly more jubilant than usual, Ben, even though you didn't go to your game today, but you think the reason you didn't go is the reason you won. How have you been?
No, good. Just very, very big chaotic weekend. We caught up for dinner on Friday night, and and then obviously a bigger event about 3 or 4 hours after that, which we'll get into. But just zero energy by this morning. I went out for coffee this morning and needed a second one, sort of just to help me along. So big weekend, but yeah, Saints got the win. Their 1,000th win in history, which I'm celebrating because, as you know, Chester, there's been a lot of dark afternoons and evenings at the footy for us Saints fans. Myself definitely, and a lot of others I know. We all remember the magical 80s and the 1880s and 1910s and all of that jazz. So I think 1,000 wins in a 150 plus year history equals out to be about 15 wins a year. So by the law of averages, we make finals every year, theoretically. So yeah. But I'm good.
Yeah, fair enough. And with that, let's just dive straight into this one then. We had the round of 32. Obviously, we have also had 2 games of the round of 16 this morning, but we're not going to touch on those. Obviously, that will come in our follow-up video. But going back to the round of 32, there was a lot of much like the group stage. We're not going to go into every game in painstaking detail. We're just kind of going to give an overview of it. Not like the same format we did in the last one. We'll just kind of have it, just as I said, a brief overview of it. It's really the best way to describe it. For the first ever time, obviously in FIFA World Cup history, we've been treated to a round of 32 because of the fact that normally there would be 32 teams in the competition to begin with. And we had some very arguably what I think will end up being the game of the tournament, which we'll get into in a bit, along with some other good performances from teams and not so good performances from teams and not so good performances from teams, but somehow still scraping through. But we'll start where I would love to start and probably take up about 80% of this video's discussion of, in that Australia-Egypt game. And the game itself, a pretty bog-standard Australian performance from what we've come to kind of see from Popper's team this tournament and pre-tournament and for the last year or so, or 2 years, or however long he's been their manager. So I don't get it. I really don't. I'm sorry. This may not be me. This may be me being all cynical English Manchester, being negative towards Australia because as an English cricket fan, you grow to how to hate Australian sporting teams. But especially one who became a cricket fan post 2010. I'm sure if I was a cricket fan before that, I would have had a lot more respect. I still have a lot of respect for those, OG Australian cricketers saying, I'm rambling, it's completely pointless to what we're talking about here. Australia-Egypt happened Saturday morning, our time in the World Cup, and Egypt have progressed. Australia, see you later, thank you, thank God for that. And I have to say, brilliant. Firstly, fantastic timing. A mere day after Albo literally started saying some nonsense about the fact that they would consider having a national public holiday if Australia were to win the World Cup. Literally, you couldn't hold your tongue to wait and see if you could even win a knockout game. You're just straight off going to go and proclaim that, are you? Good job, Albo. A day later, your country let you down.
Yeah.
But I guess that makes it kind of a little more equal, considering how many times he's let the country down.
Well, I was going to say he needs the vote, so I'm not surprised you mentioned that. But like you said, he could have waited the extra day to see what the result was, even if he was watching it on VHS replay or something, to at least wait for the result before making a call like that. But I've got to be honest, even regardless of that. Given we would have played, as I said before we jumped on Argentina, we weren't getting our public holiday, so it's a ridiculous call.
Anyway, to be honest, even if you played the team that almost beat Argentina, that we'll talk about later in this video, you probably still wouldn't have got through past them.
No.
Look, you scored. It was an own goal, but you still scored. And yeah, look, standard really Australia just sitting back doing a lot of defending, not really having a go enough at a team. We've seen this many times. I did see a hilarious headline on a video on YouTube, I think it was, or it might have been an article on Facebook or something, the other day after the result came, after the game and after the result, where there was like a quote saying, we're playing with one leg tied behind our back, and that's and I'm so happy that they're waking up to the fact that maybe this football, which they were praising after being absolutely resolute, like absolutely defensively solid, but showing nothing in attack against one of the worst teams in the tournament in Turkey, of people praising Popper's tactics, that now they're realising 3 games later, when they've seen the same shit on repeat and it not work against better teams, funnily enough, that the tactics are an issue. Because they are. I mean, look, even Curacao, Jordan, Iraq, Haiti, these teams even came to the World Cup and had a fucking go every now and then. The amount of time, like Australia, how many times across all 4 games that they played in this tournament did you really see Australia get on the front foot and try and push a team back for an extended period of time?
Yep.
The 2 goals that they scored against Turkey are both on the break with minimalistic defence in front of them, and as I said before, against one of the worst teams performance-wise in the tournament. Like, there's just no debating that, right? And then, and the only other goal they score is an own goal. Like, there's nothing there. We didn't see it for the whole tournament, and then similar way, they defensively solid, that's why they managed to hold for penalties. But this is where I really get not frustrated, but pisses me off as a football fan, and should other people. This is where it's not just me being cynical about Australia, but people who follow football should be cynical about this, especially the Socceroos fans, including yourself, Ben, and we'll get your point of view in a second. Why are you going? You've never won a knockout. The country has never ever before won a knockout game of football in a FIFA World Cup. Never happened before. You've gone to penalties against Egypt. Yes, penalties are the lottery. You could win against anyone, lose against anyone. We all get that. But you've got penalties. You just need to win a penalty shootout to complete that. Win a knockout game of football. Maybe people, including myself, will start being like, well, you know what, fair play to them. They'll probably still get eliminated, but they've done something they've never done before. I'll give them credit for that. So why on earth, going into this shootout, is your manager making some dumb decisions, like subbing off the keeper who started all of your games up until that point of the tournament and been one of the better keepers in the tournament largely as well.
Yeah.
For a keeper who hasn't featured for Australia for the best part of a year is well over the hill. For the experience factor? Look, as I said, maybe that's justifiable because Matt Ryan, that the keeper thing might be slightly justifiable, but it's not. Matt Ryan guessed right for the first penalty, went the wrong way pretty much on all the others, the other 4 after that. Didn't save a single penalty, of course, but not just that. Then the first penalty of the shootout, you give it to your captain, who's a centre-back, who's not even known for taking fucking penalty kicks. What the hell? And look, for any AFL fans such as yourself, Ben, and I guess rugby fans out there as well, maybe Harry Souttar's eyeing up a career in that after he finishes, because that was a fucking conversion and a half. Boy, wasn't it? That penalty. Jeez. And then, normality looks like restored. Yes, Egypt is still scoring. Jackson Irvine, one of the best penalties in the shootout, in my honest opinion. I don't know why he wasn't taking the first penalty, but here we are, right? Even you as a San Pauli fan is probably mystified with that. You see how confidently he strode up to the ball and just placed it in the top corner like it was nothing.
Well, my first thought was, hey, he's actually finally scored somewhere. I mean, he couldn't do it at club level as much as he tried, but and then he finally scores for his country. I mean, good on him, well done. Long time coming. Yeah. I'm still counting it.
But then Egypt keeps scoring because Ryan's not really getting anywhere near them. Mo Salah, I'm a United fan, not really ever going to openly support a Liverpool player, let alone a Liverpool legend. But look, fair credit, he absolutely did him with that Panenka. He did. Fair credit to him. And then you think, okay, Australia have been scoring. Maybe they've got fine. The Ryan decision, maybe he'll save some of the ones later if we keep this going, and the defenders might start missing. And maybe the Harry Souttar means we have a better penalty taker down the line when we need it. Okay, fair enough. So but it's still right now. Fourth penalty, Egypt. Fourth penalty comes along. Australia obviously took first. And it's one they need to score because they're still one behind because Egypt have been taking, and if they miss, it's score to win for Egypt. So with the fourth penalty in a World Cup shootout, when all the pressure's on you to win your first ever knockout game in a World Cup, what the hell do? You make your 18-year-old centre-back kid take that penalty? Look, no offence to Lucas Harrington. Obviously, he stepped up and he had a go, but what the fuck is that decision making? Hits the bar, Egypt score, Australia are out, they're going to wait another 4 years or more, depending if they even qualify for the next one, who knows, right? Like, I'm sorry, it frustrates me as a football fan because it genuinely felt like your country were taking the absolute piss out of a World Cup penalty shootout. The absolute piss. What are you doing? You have players who didn't even take penalties, who were probably going to score penalties, and you're pissing around with centre-backs and 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
What on earth is that?
No.
I'm sorry. It's inexcusable. Like, I'm not mad because I support Australia and they're out. I couldn't be happier that they're out. I'm mad because this pisses around with the whole concept of football, knockout football, and in particular, fucking World Cup knockout football.
Yeah.
Tony Popovich should be publicly shamed for the fact by FIFA for the fact that he genuinely made decisions as if to make it look like, oh, whatever, doesn't fucking matter. I'll be back here in 4 years anyway, so who gives a shit? Like, come on. Absolutely mind-boggling. Look, enough from me about that. Ben, what was, as in more of a Socceroos fan than me, obviously, what was your take on the game and especially that travesty of a shootout from a tactical decision from your manager?
Well, I'll go backwards and admit that I didn't see any of the shootout. I actually fell asleep about.
Yeah, they can put you to
75 minutes.
I mean, I woke up late and missed most of the game and came in literally when Egypt were taking their first penalty. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did see the equalising goal and was pretty stoked, and then not much longer after that, I crashed out. So. Which I expected to do not long after 4 a.m, as I think I mentioned to you on Friday. So I was pretty pleased with myself in that regard. But look, in terms of what I saw with the selection, if we want to be serious as a football nation and be respected, these are the sort of moments you've got to take with both. I was going to say both hands, but with both feet. Like you said, having Harrington and an 18-year-old kid. And with the world on his back, taking Beach off for Ryan just to get it, which is basically like the equivalent of a participation ribbon, right? He hasn't had any time for the World Cup, so let's put him in at maybe one of the most crucial points, cutthroat points of the campaign. Why? Like, Patrick or St Kilda Beach, as I'm calling him for eternity now. When I get back to City in October or whatever, just ridiculous. But I mean, I've got to admit, I thought Ryan would have been the first choice from the start. So Beach, took his chance and deserved to sort of see out that shootout, and then reckon based on the saves and that sort of last minute save. In extra time was absolutely brilliant. I mean, just reflex stuff, and it's what I've come to see of him at watching all the City games that I do. Yes, in front of about 50 people, but he's class, and he's certainly shown that. I think they got it all wrong in terms of the those sort of moments, and Popovich just the only person that knows why he did it is him, because I certainly don't. And
I'm mystified.
Yeah, but I mean, credit to us. We went down about 12 minutes in and managed to fight back. Yes, it was an own goal, but to the bleary eyes, at about 5 in the morning, it looked like it came off one of our heads like Sutar or somebody, but then realised it was an own goal. But yeah, I mean, disappointing that we didn't make it. And like you said, it would have been a really great feat that we could say, hey, we won't get a public holiday, but we won a knockout game for the first time in our history, and we all know what happened the last time we went into one of those, and I'm not going to repeat what I said back then, because everyone knows that was an absolute joke decision back then, and I am, yeah. So, live and learn. But I think the scars for Popovic with this are going to run deep for a while. I know they play Brazil in friendlies later in the year. Is he going to make the same decisions in that game as well? If we're talking about like rotating players and stuff in the biggest tournament in football, is he going to do that in a insignificant friendly, right? Who knows? But
the point I want to
yeah,
make this whole tournament, it's clear to me that the way Popper's leading into the tournament, the way he's trying to get you guys playing, once he knows your team are going to be up against it, you're inexperienced. A lot of these teams you're playing, these countries are more experienced players and most likely often better. So obviously I understand why he's gone for the defensive point. Too defensive at times, I have to think, because that comment I was mentioning, playing with one leg time behind their back, is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Like, at least try and have a go. Like, you've got players like Iran Kunda and players who've shown in the championship this season that they're quite good when they get given a chance, but how much of a chance is he going to get when all he's really got to feed on is the occasional long ball lumped over the top for him to try and chase onto? It's not really enough of a go. Jackson Irvine, he's a Bundesliga player with a little, he's relatively decent, believe it or not. In terms of skill level, probably the best in the entire squad, let's be honest. And again, just not being given license to try and create and actually try and have an impact rather than just sit on the edge of his box and lump balls out most of the time for 90 minutes. And it felt like these tactics, so you're right, but it's justified when they say, look, well, these are tactics to get us to penalty shootouts or extra time. Well, you did get to extra time and you did get to a penalty shootout, Popper, and then when you got to the penalty shootout, the whole point of your tactics, you absolutely shat the fucking bed. Your tactics did exactly what you wanted them to do. And then when you had to make a decision yourself, boy, did you fuck it. Horrendously so. I know I sound like an angry Australia fan here. I'm actually grinning from ear to ear because of the fact
of course you are, yeah.
But it's laughable because the tactics were there to get them to a penalty shootout, to win that and to go through and try and get through that time. Did exactly what it said on the tin, except for the fact that when he got to the penalty shootout, he emptied the contents of the tin and filled it with shit and piss. Shook it around, and then we had what we had, and Australia have left the World Cup as a result. Couldn't be happier. And after 17 odd minutes of talking, maybe it's time to move on to some other football that happened in the round of 32. Don't you think, Ben?
Good idea. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, we talked about your country. I think it's only fair we go on to mine next. And, we're through, but I'm not happy nor convinced that we're going to 100% necessarily beat Mexico tomorrow.
Neither am I, to be fair. It's I didn't see the game, but I saw Harry Kane, Lord and Saviour, pulling you guys up off his boots once again.
I mean, look, as a Bayern fan, and you Bundesliga, but we all know we both know what this guy's capable of.
Oh yeah, it doesn't need anything.
It was a ridiculous finish, that second goal. Let's not make any mistake about it. It was so good. But as a Bayern fan, you watch a lot of Bundesliga football. Well, you've seen this time and time again from him for the last 3 seasons. It's
I have.
No surprise to you.
No,
stuff like that, isn't
not at all. Just like I said, doesn't even need a half chance, not even a quarter chance. He can make something out of nothing. But I guess if there was going to be somebody that was going to, like I said, take the game by the bootstraps in the dying sort of quarter hour, it was going to be him, I think, and just showing his quality on the world stage yet again. We know what he's been able to do with Bayern, and just proved every cent of his pay packet. And but I think this next game is going to be really tough for you guys. I think Mexico, and I saw their last game, and I've seen the Azteca Stadium. It's they
rarely lose there as well, so that doesn't bode well for us.
No.
But look, we're not talking about the game coming up. We'll talk about the game we beat. Look, it wasn't the most convincing win. Look, DR Congo aren't a bad side. They've got a lot of Premier League players there, or players who used to play in the Premier League. So there's some decent players in that team, but nevertheless, There still wasn't a great performance from England. We looked lazy, if I'm honest. It worries me because a lot of these teams in this World Cup are looking energetic, they're looking fit, they're running, they're trying to push teams, and we just look so lethargic half the time, and it's really worrying me and pissing me off as well. Look, Madueke, I've said it time and time again. Why the fuck is he in an England shirt in this World Cup? He's not an England player. He's nowhere near the level of what we need in that position. I don't know if you watched our game, Bev, but that first...
No, I missed it.
I mean, I know Spence plays for Spurs, Madueke for Arsenal, and obviously there's some tension there with the whole North London, right? But it clearly looked like they hated each other in that first half. I don't think I saw Madueke jog back across the halfway line to help defend once in the 45 minutes of football in that first half. Maybe once, but I might have missed it. I don't know. Like, the amount of times he was leaving Jed Spence to defend 2-on-1 situations on that right-hand side in the first half was just ridiculous. And that's kind of where their goal came from, to be honest. Like, he can only do so much, Jed Spence. He's getting run around by pacey Congolese players who, like, you know, you saw the difference when Saka came on in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
He had cover on that right-hand side. They weren't having anywhere near as much joy at that point because they were being closed down. There was more cover. They weren't having the freedom of the right-hand side because they were creating overloads constantly because Madueke couldn't be asked to move his fucking legs quicker than a walking pace to get across the halfway line to help his teammates out. But yeah, look, England luckily came back into it. Thankfully, it's the first time we've actually ever won a knockout game of World Cup football after being 1-0 down. So, never knew that, but apparently, yeah. Look, we're just lucky we have Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham in the team, really, at the end of the day. But how much longer can they carry us? We need to be a lot better. On paper, you'd think we're still better enough to beat Mexico, but the way we've been playing, I don't see it happening. We'll find out tomorrow, obviously. I mean, in our next video later this coming week, we'll find out when we go over it. But yeah, I'm not convinced. Look, fair play to Congo. I thought, you know, they really gave a good show of themselves, not only against us, but in this World Cup. But yeah, England, look, you're through, but you need to get better if you don't want to go out next round and you want to keep going in this World Cup, because I think semi-final should be minimum for us, and I don't think there's any excuses for not making a semi-final.
I agree.
Yeah. But look, we'll move on from England, and we'll move on to some. We're not going to say we're not going to go through every single game. Some were like, you know, France, sorry, no, that was a round of 16 game.
Parramatta, was it them? Yeah.
Canada obviously with a very, you know, with a late goal to get them over the line, huge for them at home, making it through to the round of 16. Yes, they had to play South Africa, but still, you know, they held in there. It was a very close game, in fact, but you know, a good win from Canada gets them into the round of 16. Obviously, at the time of recording, we already know the result of their game, but we won't go over it. I think other games, obviously, you had the Netherlands-Morocco game with one of the worst penalty shootouts you could possibly ever see. I don't know if you saw that game, but there were some horrendous penalties in that shootout between Netherlands and Morocco that Morocco eventually got through.
I did see that. Yeah, I think I was coming back from my a scan I had on Tuesday and got back for the second half. It was a shocking shootout. So yeah, not great at all. But yeah, Brazil beating Japan as well.
That was the next one. Yeah, Brazil Japan was, like, you know, fair credit to Japan. I mean, they should have gone a lot further in this tournament. I guess it was just unlucky that they had to play Brazil in their first game in knockout football, but that's what the World Cup does, right? Netherlands are out as a result of that, another team that are out as a result of that, which I'm about to get to next. But yeah, look, fair credit to Japan, because once again they've had another good showing at the international tournament. Kaiser Sano, for all you Mainz fans in our channel, I mean, what a goal that was. His first international goal, if I'm correct. Like, again, being Bundesliga fans, we know all about a lot of these Japanese players, don't we? And yeah, good goal, but yeah, Brazil just too good in the end. As a United fan, the amount of times I've seen Casemiro pop up for a header on the back post, and I'm really going to miss it. And yeah, Brazil march on, as you know. And I kind of like this Brazil team, I'm not going to lie. It's not like some of these ones in the past which I haven't liked that much. I do like this Brazil team. Another big result, obviously, we had in the round just gone. Germany, of course, being dumped out by Paraguay. So we will address it here, folks. If those of you who watched our World Cup preview a few weeks back, when we boldly both said that Germany would go win the World Cup, yes, we failed at the first knockout round with that prediction. And look, fair credit to Paraguay. they really have some, they really have good organisation. They have a game plan that works, and they get the job done, really. And with all those people jump in the comments, go, well, you're knocking Australia because Australia play defensive, yet Paraguay do the same thing, and you're praising them. No, they don't do the same thing. Yes, they play defensive, but they actually still try and win games. There's a big difference, right? And when they go to, and in the case of the one against Germany, where they were trying to hold out for penalties, they actually made the right decisions and won their penalty shootout. So of course it's not the same thing. Not in any way, shape or form is it the same thing. You played Paraguay, and Paraguay were trying to win. Australia were trying to draw. So there.
It's the Australian way, clearly. But I was quite surprised with this result at the time. But I mentioned to you on the day, we're going to have to find new teams to sort of predict for the title, and we'll get to that shortly, because there was a pretty dominant display from one of those teams, I reckon, that's going to be right up there in a couple of weeks' time, and we might as well talk about it now. That's France. I think they're definitely in with more than just a shout of making that final game. Mexico. I did see the Mexico-Ecuador game, and that was pretty wild. So
another send-off for a player covering their mouth and speaking.
Yes.
In that game.
Yeah.
Don't know how these players haven't figured it out.
Let's see if they bring it in the A-League this season. That's going to be won't need VAR, and VAR is already shit anyway, so won't need to worry about that. Norway beating Ivory Coast, and Norway have got a pretty I think their next game is going to be pretty big for them as well. But they've done really well so far. Credit to them. Belgium, Senegal.
That was a great comeback. Let's touch on that. The comeback from Belgium, very, very good.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I'm not convinced by them overly, and I don't think they're going much further in the tournament. But credit where credit's due. That was a very good comeback to win against Senegal when it looked like they were done. Tielemans really lifting him off the floor. Him and Lukaku. Yeah, Lukaku just every now and then, even though he's not quite the same striker he was back in the day. He's still good for a goal if he gets an opportunity, and he's had a couple of those this tournament. Obviously, we had a Colombia beating Ghana narrowly 1-0 in a very I'm not going to say uneventful game. Ghana were terrible, but Colombia, they're not one of these South American teams that just try to kick lumps out of their opposition. They actually do like to have a go, and they are fun and interesting to watch. They've got a great game coming up, I believe, against Switzerland. That'll be a cracking game, I reckon. Colombia against Switzerland, two very evenly matched teams in that regard. There, so that will be an interesting one to watch. Obviously, talking about Sam Powell, even though he's technically not anymore because he's left you. Obviously, we're all on Vasil watch on this channel, and boy, did he deliver an absolute stinker of a performance, didn't he? Against the
It was coming. For all the Sampaoli games I've seen, and you've heard me moan about how bad he is. This and the fact that I didn't actually see any of them, I'll have to go back and watch the highlights. From what you were telling me, it wasn't great. But if it wasn't the back pass to Haris Tabakovic, his own national teammate against Gladbach for a goal, if it wasn't punching the ball into his own net in the second or third last game of the season when we still had a chance of survival.
Wait, you're talking about against Wolfsburg at the end?
Yeah.
Like
that's right, it was that game, yeah.
It was the
last game, right, my bad, yeah. So I've been haunted by a lot of these, as you can tell. So, but
it's also add a World Cup power to it. Not so much the first one, but my God. I mean, it was well struck, the free kick, but it did not need the helping hand. But he did not need to just give it a helping hand, didn't he? As he tried to save it and just kind of palmed it down into the net.
I'm actually going to, just as we're talking, I'm going to bring those highlights up because I've got to see this. It's I haven't seen any of
the second goal. If you just want to skip through, it's the second goal. It's a free kick. I can't remember who took it off the top of my head, but it was basically over the wall. It wasn't quite in the corner.
Yeah. Going through.
People. It wasn't quite in the corner. It was more kind of like, he got to it essentially. He probably could have tipped it out or kept it out, but he kind of just palms it into the net.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it had pace behind it, but I still think he could have made a
there we
better
go.
effort.
Let's have a look. Header. Was you sure? Oh no, that was offside, right? Okay, I'm thinking he just dinked it in. So that was obviously one made back before that. So, oh, here we go. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. But like I said, it's what I've come to expect from the guy this season. He did get a hand to it, but that's that's NPL stuff. Sorry, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, palmed it into the back
of
the net.
That's that's Green Gully versus Daniel. Yeah.
Like in his defence, US were going to win the game regardless. It wasn't like
it
cost his team getting through or anything like that. Like,
no,
they were way better than. I mean, they weren't particularly amazing on the day, US, but they were definitely more than good enough to comfortably beat Bosnia like they did. So, with fair credit to Bosnia, they still got through.
Yeah. The thing that made me laugh about that particular game was seeing all the American fans on social saying, "Oh, we're so shit hot. We had to beat two countries." Sorry, what? Like, it's one nation. It's not two separate countries. This is like the same as the Messi plays for America just because he plays for Inter Miami Files. Like, I'd almost go as far as saying they should never host the World Cup again, the US, because some of the takes in this tournament have been absolutely awful. But the fans have enjoyed themselves. The Socceroos fans, you might have seen, they did a massive sort of chant thing in Walmart. In a Walmart store the other day, which is like our Kmart, I suppose. We've talked about the Scots having a ball, and it's been really good for those travelling fans, I guess. But I can't remember who the US have got in the next game, but hopefully they get beaten because I'm sick of them now. I'm well and truly sick of seeing the Yanks competing in their own tournament. But I do want Mexico to go well, and does that mean it's going to be beyond tomorrow? We don't know, but I just think in terms of the way they're playing, and I think I heard that after tomorrow, if they do make it, they have to play in America, right? So, I guess we'll see if that happens. How big a change is that going to be for them if that does happen? And conversely, I guess. What's the key that you think is the key to beating them? They're a quality side, and they've shown that, I guess, and it's going to be a raucous atmosphere. It's like that round one game against Collingwood that I went to at the MCG with, about 15% Saints fans or 20% Saints fans and 80% Collingwood. That's sort of what it sounds like to me in terms of like the crowd breakup, but. But I guess in terms of where we're at this stage, I mean, yes, there's been some, two surprises on the one day, and the cream starting to rise to the top in terms of those teams that are going to be right up there. I think that the week to come, and as you said, we're probably going to do another video later in the week, maybe Thursday. But I think it's going to be interesting to see when we get to that stage who's left.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's still two more games we should talk about for this round just gone. Firstly, we'll save the big ones at the end, but firstly, Portugal-Croatia, you do have to feel a little hard done by for Croatia. Those goals getting ruled off for them, like, mental really, isn't it? Like, how nitty-gritty they're being, but look, I welcome it because we need some clarity with VAR these days.
Mm-hmm.
And look, they gave it a good go, Croatia, but they can't be discredited. Finalists in 2018, fourth in 2022. Look, it was going to eventually fall apart for them, you'd think. Look, and it's a somewhat sad end to a sparkling career of Luka Modric, who you think has probably played his last game of maybe not professional football, but certainly international football. Because he hasn't been able to get further. But look, all those things come to an end. Ronaldo's, even though he's scoring that game, he clearly does not look the same player that he used to be. Speaking of the other side of that, and Messi, it's a perfect tangent to get to the final game we need to talk about, and we'll have a bit of time with this one because, folks, we may have witnessed the game of the tournament right then and there.
Oh, yeah.
full credit to the team who have been eliminated in Cabo Verde, not only to what they brought to this being their first ever World Cup, but just, the fearlessness that they've shown in this tournament, drawing with Spain, drawing with Uruguay, drawing with Saudi Arabia, fine, and then basically almost taking the number one ranked team in the world and the current holders of the World Cup almost to a penalty shootout where, again, they could have potentially won, especially with that man in between the sticks. I mean, apparently he got a professional contract for the first time in his career when he was 30 years old in Argentina. He would have fought 10 years later. This guy from Cabo Verde, who'd only been a professional footballer for 10 years, would be one of the goalkeepers of the tournament in a FIFA World Cup.
40 years old as well, just quality and
crazy. Eight saves in the game, including that one off Messi when Messi went through one-on-one. Yes, you could argue Messi probably fluffed the finish and kind of shot it straight at him, but nonetheless there was the free kick save where Messi tried to catch him out with that dink to the far post when he was on the other post, and he made the ground ball across, saved it and we feel like the Spain game, the Uruguay game, even the Saudi Arabia game, the saves this guy's making, the way the team were playing. Look, not only have we seen the game of the tournament, we've probably seen the goal of the tournament as well, and the celebration of the tournament. It was all in the same game. That celebration will take some beating, honestly, and it's so good to see because it just shows you the raw emotion of how much it means to these players.
That's football,
just scoring that goal and just legging it up the stairs into the crowd
to find his missus,
to hug and kiss his missus and his family, the raw emotion just from that. And yes, obviously they ended up losing in the day in the end, but look, fair credit to them because they did defend a lot in the game and they sat back because they knew they had to. But look, every time Argentina went in front, instantly they switched on and got on the front foot and tried to play. And fair credit, they weren't half bad, were they? They were on the ball at times in that game.
Not at all.
Making some nice, intricate passes. Maybe not. They weren't always coming off. Both their goals were fantastically well taken finishes. It has to be said. And Argentina literally got pushed to the very end to win that game. This is the team that have just won the World Cup, who are currently pretty much ranked one in the world, I think. They've won the World Cup 3 times. This is Argentina we're talking about. They had to go all the way to the very bitter end of extra time to get over the line against this small island nation playing in their first ever tournament. And just what they've brought to this tournament is nothing short of phenomenal. If there's any people watching this who are fans of Cabo Verde or from Cabo Verde, like the rest of the world, we also on this podcast are going to say thank you for every bit that you've brought to
Absolutely, because
you've really lit up this World Cup. No one would have expected it, but unbeaten in 90 minutes, and you've played Spain, Uruguay, Argentina. They've got 6 World Cups between them. 6. And you haven't lost to a single one of them across 90 minutes. Is phenomenal. Absolutely, and deservedly not lost. Absolutely phenomenal.
I think I was just going to say, I think every World Cup needs a story, and I think this is absolutely, regardless of what happens from here, the story of the tournament. I certainly would have thought, these teams, and you know me, mate, I love an underdog story, and in all sort of different sports, and this is one of them. I mean, the smallest island, 40-year-old goalkeeper, who played like he was 25 again, to be honest.
He's only been professional contracted for 10 years. He got a professional contract when he was 30. It's remarkable, isn't it? And
it's amazing.
This guy, even though sadly he's pretty much at the end of his career, maybe a couple of years left, all of a sudden he might go back and have offers from teams in Europe or have to play even one season just because of how good he's been in this tournament. Absolutely phenomenal. I
was going to say, if Patrick Bedge gets snapped up by someone overseas, I think I saw Hanover or someone might be looking at him. I know where there's an instant replacement, and that's...
I'm sorry.
I don't know how many...
Brilliant moment. An absolutely brilliant moment at the end of the game, but we all wanted to see it. We all talk about Ronaldo and Messi. Vozinha's been the talk of the tournament, and at the end of the game, when him and Messi just walked up, it wasn't anything big or long-winded. It was just a very quick acknowledgement. Both of them shook hands, tapped each other on the arm, whatever, winked at each other, smiled, and then That was it. But it's just such a beautiful moment. Like Messi, how much he's done in his career, recognizing that this goalkeeper gave him a real damn good game of football, and he just had to recognise and respect the fact that he did that, and you just love to see that sort of stuff.
How many goalkeepers can say, "Oh, I saved a one-on-one shot from Messi"? Yes, it probably hit him in a spot you don't want to get hit, gents, but still, he kept it out, and
free kick from him as well.
No, exactly. I mean, we as you said, we did our review. We did our preview episode about 3 weeks ago, and I think we both sort of didn't expect, Cabo Verde to do too much, but we also were sitting there with New Zealand not being beaten in, since 2010, and they've been beaten, so and they're out. But just quality for them, and just really, like I said, story of the tournament. No matter what happens from here, and they should be proud. And I think hopefully it's not the last major tournament we see from them as well.
Sadly, it probably will for Argentina, but unless he does play till he's 44, you never know. Ronaldo looks like he wants to. But yeah, look, fair credit to Argentina. They got over the line like all good teams do in the end. It was eventually, it looked inevitable. When they scored the third, you just felt, even though they really still gave it a go, you just felt it was probably one too many. And they did turn out to be that. But yeah, look, they've shown that they can go all the way, so they're now going to have all that extra belief. And look, I don't think we've ever had it before in World Cup history where we've had the same final back-to-back in tournaments. And right now it's looking very much plausible that France Argentina could very well be the final again. They're on opposite sides of the draw, so it's like they would only meet in the final, so it's almost like it's meant to be, right? You did say earlier you wanted us to change our predictions. I will change our prediction right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think Argentina are going to go back to back. That's my call.
I think it's going to be a France-Argentina final. The one thing I will say though is if there's ever a chance, and I don't know how big a Simpsons fan you are, but I'm a pretty big fan from way back.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you remember the episode where
Portugal.
Yeah. That if there's ever a chance for that to still happen, it's here, and it's the ultimate sort of piss take matchup for sort of 90s cartoons, I suppose. And Simpsons fans, like and subscribe, comment, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. But I don't see it happening. But what I do see happening is Argentina France final, and I think in terms of that third place spot, I think Brazil and possibly Mexico, depending on what end of the draw they finish up on. Yeah, no, okay.
The winner of England-Mexico plays the winner of Brazil-Norway in the quarters, so that wouldn't be possible for Brazil to play Norway and Mexico.
Yeah, I'd say one of, unless you guys make it there as well. So it's either going to be Mexico or I think you guys in that playoff.
Okay. That's bold.
Well, we are about bold predictions on this.
I've
this
said
pod.
Who's going to win? You've just tried to dodge the question. Who do you think's going to win now? Germany horrifically won.
I think if it's Argentina France, it's going to be a cracking final. I'm going to stick my neck out and say France.
Okay, you're going France. I'm going Argentina.
Okay.
Let's see then, shall we? But yeah, look, that will wrap up another round of football. We've got the round of 16 that just started today, so I think it'll probably be Thursday or probably Friday this week we will record the next video. And then after that we might try and start to condense because the rounds will get shorter and shorter. So I think we'll just wrap up the round of 16 and then we'll probably combine the quarters and semis into one. So the final and third place playoff, obviously, that'll be done as a separate video as well, and plus as a whole overview of the tournament, not just like a 15-minute video talking about 2 games.
Well, we could talk about Cabo Verde for about another hour, so you know.
And I could talk about Australia for another hour. How great it is they're out and how bad they were in this tournament. But no, and I'll chuck in a lot of talk about how bad Madueke is as well.
I've never heard of him, so he must be terrible. Yeah. So yeah, but I don't watch as much Premier League as you do. So yeah.
And then obviously we've got some Bundesliga stuff that's going to eventually come around. With a quick mention now, Bayern have officially signed Ismail Saibari and Nathaniel Brown as of the other day, I think. Nathaniel Brown was done with recently. So we've got more right back. We've got another right back there, I think. Well, I'm not sure what's going on with Alphonso Davies, but these injuries are getting concerning now. I know he's a left back, but anyway, this is not Bundesliga talk. This is World Cup talk. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's obviously where we're at right now in terms of this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if my partner's hand just reach across to grab the key. She gets to get the washing. But yeah, I think that will wrap up another week of round, I should say, of World Cup football. So yeah, we'll leave it there, everyone. We'll see you guys for the next one, probably Thursday, maybe Friday. We'll do the recording depending when the round ends. So yeah, peace out, take care, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Take care, guys.